This is literally the most racist game developer that I've ever seen in my life, okay? The title is not hyperbolic, I'm being literal here. This is the worst take that I've ever seen in my life. Stardew Valley and overall cozy games are, according to this person, right, racism, because they have seasons. You know, like winter and summer and so forth, right? Things that they are correct. It is true though, that without white people, it wouldn't be any winter, guys. Obviously, we as whiteys, we want it to be snowing, man. I take my trusty Myrmonden out every day, right? I hammer those clouds, then we get winter, right? Because we whites, we really love when it snows, right? Before the white people went down and colonized Africa and so on, it never snowed, right? Before the white people went to Japan and so on, they never had snow in Japan. You wanna know a secret, guys? We also created daytime and nighttime. Before the white people colonized the planet, it was only darkness. Permanent darkness, right? With all the people of colors could live in the happy darkness, right? Then we white people arrived and we gave them the light, right? Forced them into the light, to the whiteness. Sorry, I felt I had to make a joke there, right? This thing is so incredibly absurd that I feel I had to joke about it. I mean, of course, we whiteys have not invented daytime and nighttime. The winter thing, that is true though, 100%. But anyway, the thing about it, right, is this is a game conference that happened last week, and it's like game conference for colored people, something that is called. So right at that level, you know, like, okay, it's gonna be some agenda driven, right? This is so insane, but I mean it. This is so insane, guys, okay? This is literally the most racist take I ever seen in my life from a game developer, right? It is so insane. So this person here, right, is claiming that a game like Stardew Valley and other, you know, like farming games, right? But it's mostly about Stardew Valley because they hate Stardew Valley, right? They are saying it's a racist game because the list here, of course, but it's like the game is racist because it has seasons, right? You know, like summer, winter, and so forth. That is the most asinine, dumbest take of all time, right? Not only is it stupid because, yeah, it's not like the video game itself. It's not like Stardew Valley invented the concept of, again, winter, right? It existed before gaming, you know what I mean? Big, yeah, shocker, right? But it's also like, I would say this was deeper, right? So I'm a game developer, and I've been, you know, I love gaming, anime, and so forth, right? But I also really love science, and this just bugs me so much, right? These people are not living in reality second, right? Because first and foremost, this is a ridiculous, racist take against everyone else that is not white, right? It's so absurd. It's so absurd. I haven't even said anything because you think about it, it isn't actually racist towards white people in a sense. I mean, obviously they are portraying white people as the devil. We came down and we forced the winter and snowing on people or whatever, right? Like it's insane. Like it's just completely asinine, unrealistic, not living in reality, of course. But it's rather, if you look at it from like an actual scientific standpoint, right? It's the most racist take I've seen in my life. Because what she's actually saying, this person here, what she's saying, right, is that no one else except white people understand what winter is, right? What a season is. She's saying that, you know, before the whiteys go down to Africa, everyone living in Africa didn't have farming. They didn't have agricultural revolution, right? They didn't understand what like hot and cold is. We, the whiteys, had to go there and explain to them that this is snow, it comes winter, you have to hide. So that's why it's very racist. This is like a conference, right, for colored people, but these are the most racist people you find in the game industry. And they clearly hate themselves. They have this insane conceptual idea, right? That before the whiteys, again, colonized the world, right? Before they went to Japan and colonized them, the Japanese people didn't know what snow was. Because they actually never did colonize them. But the point, it's like before the whiteys traveled around the world, around the globe, apparently no one else knew what a season was. Like, it's so stupid, right? And it really reminds me of that Smithsonian thing. So the Smithsonian posted this insane infographic, right, a couple of years ago, like 10 years ago now, And this is also one of the most racist things that ever been made, right? And if one museum must post the most racist thing then. So basically, they're saying that stuff like having time, you know, like being on time or something, that's a white thing, right? Like, have you ever been to Japan? Like, Japanese people are way more into, you know, getting on time and scheduling than the average white person is, you know what I mean? It's just like respecting authority. I mean, I think that people respect authority in every culture, including non-white cultures, yeah. Surprise. But it's here, but it's the same thing. Like, we white people didn't invent winter. It's insane. It's insane. I mean, seriously. This is the most racist game developer that I think I've ever seen, right? I mean, to really emphasize here, right? She is saying that without white people, no one else understood the concept of, again, winter and summer and so on, right? You know how understands winter? Squirrels do. Animals, right, have a concept understanding of the bird, you know, the flying from the cold country to the hot country, right, when it's, you know, when it's winter coming. This animal here, right, is collecting food and storing it for the winter. So incredibly racist. She's saying that before the white people got to Africa and so forth, right, they didn't understand the concept of when the winter is coming and crops will die or whatever. They don't understand farming, right? Like a squirrel, again, the squirrel would be smarter than what she is claiming her own people are. I mean, genuinely think about that. She's saying that without white people, black people, Asian people, whatever, right, would not understand the concept of winter. Like, we have to go there and colonize Africa to explain winter, that it gets cold during the winter, which an animal could understand, like a non-human understands it. Almost every animal has understood that. And obviously every culture in Africa, every African civilization has a concept of seasons, guys. You know, winter, summer, so on. Every culture, right, has had to develop agricultural civilization, right? Because I'm almost fascinated. This is so stupid. What have to explain this thing? I mean, we obviously, right, went from, you know, being gatherers, right, hunter-gatherers, you know, catching animals, right, finding berries, and then we invented farming, of course. And then you have farming, you also get like animal husbandry, and then you get like a blacksmith, you can build the tools or whatever. That's how like every, you know, city starts, right, as a farm, right? And then it grows from that farm, you know what I mean? That's how all this civilization has started, right? In all the continents, right? Not just in Europe, obviously also in Africa and Asia and whatever, right? So forth, and South America, whatever. So it's just like, this is what I make the video, because I really want to iterate in this point. I really want to emphasize this point, right? There is so incredible racism to say that without white people, no one else would understand how to like build a farm, right? No one else knew that crops die during the winter. It's so stupid. I mean, I just can't push it up enough, guys. Anyway, guys, if you like the video so far, subscribe, press the like button, guys. I am honestly, I'm having a mental breakdown making this video because it's just so incredibly stupid. But I do also quickly want to go over other points, especially point number 2 there. I think it's interesting. Again, though, that being said, I can throw lightning bolts with these hammers, so you guys better subscribe. But anyway, the thing is that, right, point number 2 here is an issue that I heard a lot of people say, even in my own experience. I've met people that I worked with, they actually believe that number 2 is like an actual issue in gaming, and it's really, really stupid, right? So this number 2 point here says, the outside individual who saves the day. The problem they have, of course, is that, you know, the video game main character, right, comes in from the outside. In Stardew Valley, of course, you inherit your farm from your grandparents. You move there, and then you save the day. And this is like this how white man saves the day kind of issue to have. Of course, in Stardew Valley, you could play like a black lesbian, so whatever, I digress. The real issue, right, with this point, and like I said, I have actually met people that complain about this, like, you know, white savior syndrome, right, in video games. But the thing is that, obviously, you're playing a video game, so you're gonna do the quest, right? Yes, in theory, someone else, right, could have found the Major's pants, right? He lost his pants during the game or whatever. But obviously, in theory, other people could have done the quest in Stardew Valley. But because it's a video game, and I know there's a shocking factor for these, you know, game developers, obviously this is a random SBI can't try to make money, whatever, we have a point. In an actual game, you have to, of course, have the gamer use collecting items, right? But this is an issue. I've heard people say it's over. I've seen this point for the last decade now. even inside people in the industry that work for, right? The thing this is an actual issue. But you can't like solve this issue because the player is actually playing the game. The player has to do the quest, right? There are, of course, examples of video games. The best example I have is Romancing Saga 2. Side note, this was the best game last year, guys, okay? Fantastic game. I can't recommend it more. I made a tier list last year and I was like, this is the best game. Anyway, a reason this game is so good is because every time you fight in this game, the time like moves in secret. It's called event casualty. So basically, if you fight too much or do certain quests, like beat a boss or whatever, right? Other boss or the quest will disappear. So you can't actually save everyone. You can miss classes and so on in quest easily in this game. That's one part of the game is great, right? But even if you play the game as a complete new player and doesn't know, exactly what to do and correct order of events and yada yada, right? You will of course still save the day outside. You will come in there, right, as the main character in the RPG, come into a new village, right, and fighting the dragon, you know what I mean? But if you do it incorrectly, you might not recruit the monk character. So I love the game because the game actually is hard to understand how to get all the characters and so forth, right? But you will still, of course, save the day because it's a game, right? My point is, of course, you can have a video game where the main character doesn't necessarily do all the quests or whatnot, right? But in a general sense, of course, the player has to be, the guy doing the quest, even if you maybe fail 1 or 2 quests, right? So, yeah, it's just the most insane take ever. But I've seen it, like I said, for so many years now in the industry. I hate it so many times that I have talked to people that I work with, be like, you guy, if it's stupid, what are we talking about? Of course the players do it, but yes, we can maybe fail some quests, but the players do it primarily. You don't want to have, the NPC doing the quest for you? Like, that doesn't make any sense. But anyway, that was the main other point I want to bring up, though. Just how stupid it is. Because, yeah, it's a video game. These people just don't actually enjoy playing games. So they just want to push their agendas. That's probably why I don't even understand the concept of questing and whatever. But anyway, otherwise, yeah, obviously the first point, so many white people. Yeah, these people are just racist, right? Yeah, they hate themselves. They hate every culture. And they also hate white people. They hate everyone, obviously. It's a weird... Yeah, this is racist. The land is different. The third point is kind of funny, though. Yeah, I kind of enjoy the third point. Because, I mean, this goes back to, like... It's a farming game. I mean, I understand what they are obviously trying to, like... I guess dog whistle here. They're saying that Stardew Valley is a racist game. Because in this farming game, right? You can take the land and farm. But that's like the mechanical conceptualization of... being a farming game. You obviously can take the land and farm on it. Is it even technically true, though? Because in Stardew Valley, you actually inherit your farm, and in basically most farming games, you get the farm somehow, so it's not even true. But, I mean, what's next? What's next, guys? Are you gonna make an argument that playing a game like Mario is racism? Because you can attack Gombas, and Gombas are, brown, so by attacking them, it's actually, attacking, it's like colonization, right? You're colonizing the Gombas. That's the next take. Every video game without attacking it is actually also racism, right? So yeah, it's weird. And then this is, I guess they think it's racist because, corn and wheat goes up. Because, yeah, it's a farming game, so they're like... so, I shouldn't laugh at it, it's so stupid, but I guess their point is that because you can have like a cotton or whatever, right? Yeah, you know what I mean? Because you can farm stuff, right? Like cotton, perhaps, in a game, that makes it racism because, yeah, the nuclear family. Again, like if you go to, I don't know, Japan, what do you think is the most common, situation, right, for two people that have children together? They're married, right? Japanese people tend to get married and not divorce that much, right? Like in the West, right? So if anything, the nuclear family is definitely the nuclear family, much more popular in East Asia, right, than in the Western country, I mean, by a lot, right? So this is going back to this weird racism, like, no, but like, white people didn't invent the nuclear family, you know what I mean? White people didn't invent marriage, right? It's so silly. Why am I making this video for? It's so silly. I keep saying it, right? Every civilization has the understanding, right, that first it's you know, it's spring, then it's summer. Yes, that is a structure, because that is reality, right? That is reality. Well, I can say earlier, I joked in the intro, what is the next issue you can have? That the sun goes up in the game? Oh no! This game has cycles of day and night, which is a monochronic structure, right? It's day, night, it's the same, you know, cycle, right? There's racism now, you know, I mean, like, it's just anything that has any kind of structure, right? And this is also, in lack of better terms, right, whilst people are so incredibly woke or whatever, right, because they are mixing up these very, very far left, you know, wackadoodle. They're trying to apply that to stuff like winter, again, or like, you know, day or night or whatever. They're trying to apply this, like, everything is just what I want it to be. So if I want it to be day, it's day. It's like, well, no, but it's actually night now. Oh, it's raining, but I want it to be snow. No, but it actually is raining. And they're like, you know, they don't want to live in actual reality for a second, right? It's insane. But it's a very, very clear pattern of mentality. Next point, it's kind of interesting. This actually, I will say, to them is kind of true though. In all these games, right, they tend to have a trope that you can find some, you know, ancient ruins or whatever, right? This actually comes from, I would say, JRPGs primarily. Yeah, not for console games, right? Because it's the same in, you know, Breath of Fire or whatever, Final Fantasy, Wild Arms, I can sit here and rabble, Suikoden, whatever. All these JRPGs basically will have some ancient, powerful, you know, country, right, that has been fallen, maybe some disaster, maybe the last boss in the game, you know, defeated them all, right, and killed their country or whatever in the past and so forth, you know what I mean? So it's a very, very common trope, right? You have this ancient, you know, super advanced civ, maybe in magic, maybe technology, right? And these games like Stardew Valley, whatever, tend to kind of copy that and hide away some ancient ruins. So these I actually have to tell them. I agree there is a trope that is used in these games all the time. That is true. But again, though, is it like a bad trope? I mean, it's a trope, though. I give them that, but it's like, it doesn't mean it's colonizing or racism or whatever. No, it's just like, it's just a common structure, right, that you can find. But I think it comes back to the second point earlier, right, how you're so anti-actual playing video games. Because if you're going into a video game, or we can talk about something like D&D, right, or whatever, when you're entering this, you know, fantasy world, right, it's really cool to imagine that I can go into a forest and I can find this secret path in this forest, right? And that leads me to these ancient ruins with really cool weapons that I can fight the dragon with. That's like a really cool feeling, right? In any kind of fantasy setting. If you're watching a movie, and it's a fantasy movie, it's cool to watch them, you know, fight with everyone. So that is, again, it's a very classic game mechanic, how you have these, you know, fallen civs, right, that you can utilize. And it don't really do with racism or whatever. It's just like, yeah, it's a game mechanic. But I understand why they hate it, though. Like I said, just with the whole you coming in, doing all the questing, yeah, they hate it because it's a common trope, and they just hate video games, right? So they hate that structure. So I just want to point out how this insane, racist game developer, and again, obviously I'm using the term game developer here, in the loosest kind of terms, right? This person doesn't even like games. They can't write a single line of code or whatever, obviously not. But anyway, I think this is so funny, right? Because I have played the first game, Fields of Mistria, and that game is very similar to Stardew Valley. Like, a lot. Like, these people are so stupid. That's what I'm saying. They're obviously insane, right? We talked about earlier, seasons and blah 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 winter. Yeah, but they're obviously dumb, obviously. But I just find these things like so. It's just so. Like, I have a hard time even explaining how dumb this is, right? Again, if you ignore everything I said before, right, and assume that what they are saying is accurate, okay? Let's give them that and pretend that everything in their list is true, is accurate, is actually true, okay? This first game in the list also has seasons. This is Fields of Mistria during the winter, okay? It's obviously a game that is very much based on Stardew Valley. In other words, graphically looks like Zelda Link to the Past. And it's a good game. Don't get me wrong, not wrong with this game, right? But I'm just saying that this game also basically has all the issues of her list. I mean, seriously, right? We just looked at this insanely stupid list what makes a game racist, right? And this woman here in SPI, you know, freaking sweet baby, she's arguing that Stardew Valley is racist because it has winter in it, right? And then she's recommending another game that is a copy of that game that also has winter in it. Like, seriously, that's how my brain feels like. It's just freezing in the ice coldness, right? Like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, make it make sense. I mean, of course, everything they're saying is incredibly inaccurate, right? Obviously. But like I said, if we, for argument's sake, assume that what they're saying is accurate, right? That what they're saying is actually, you know, fitting, right? That, okay, doing all this quest, you know, coming in, you know, saving the outside world and all that stuff, right? And then goes out the seasons. But then, like, all the games in the list are still also that, right? Those other games also have seasons. Most of them at least I played in the list. They of course also have quests where you as the gamer is doing the quest like for it. I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. I just wanna explain how dumb they are. But seriously, like, I mean, honestly, how can it be this stupid? And I really see them as maybe not only the most racist game developer ever, but also the dumbest one as well, right? Because if you make a list that is the most asinine list ever of what makes a game racism, and again, the list is the worst list ever, and then you have another list of games that all of the games are basically also fitting the same list you have. It's like, okay, so why are you then recommending me a bunch of racist game according to her, right? That other games are also racist. I mean, this is the same. Yeah, it's very obvious logic. But of course, these people that have a logic are. I'm tired, guys. I'm tired. Jesus Christ, man. This is what the game development is still terrible. Like, seriously, don't fall for the whole, like, you know, walk or whatever. Absolutely not. This is still how I thought it looks in most game development companies, right? Most studios. We've seen it with the reset, people getting fired on saga publishers. Really, yeah, interesting, I think. Really interesting. So forth, right? And, yeah. What can I say, right? These people are insane. They're literally insane, man. It's just so ridiculous now. But I have to say, though, I find it just funny, right? How I'm obviously joking in my intro that, you know, oh, what's next, right? Sunlight is racism because white people are white like the sun or something, you know what I mean? That, you know, next year at this conference, someone probably will claim that, yeah, like literally, right? The people are going more extreme, and of course with the recent political events that I'm not talking about, I feel that they're just doubling down, they're tripling down, right? So we get even dumber takes. Yeah, so yeah, I'm calling, guys. They're gonna say that, you know, sunlight is racism soon. Absolutely, 100%. After all, it changes your melanin, you know. Sunlight hits your body, right? And it changes your skin color, so obviously racism. 100%. And guys, the video, subscribe. Press the like button. Now I'm gonna check out that polygon video from the anime tourist, guys. It's probably be a terrible video as well, right? So you guys can have a great day.